So this video is probably going to anger a lot of NFT bros out there and a lot of Web3 enthusiasts, but I feel like I need to say it because this is just something that I have a strong opinion about now. I've been kind of learning more about Solidity and Web3 and how to deploy a smart contract, how do NFTs work over the past like month or so. And I've been coding in the industry for almost 10 years now, just doing traditional Web 2.0 services. And the more I dive into Web3 and like what a decentralized application is, the more I think all this stuff is just a bunch of hype and it's not really solving any real issues. So if you've been kind of researching Web3 in decentralized applications as well, but you feel a different way, be sure to leave a comment below and let me know. But before we dive into this topic, I want you to be sure to click that like button because it helps my channel grow. Also, be sure to subscribe and press that bell icon if you want to get more videos like this in the future where I just kind of talk about my opinions on different technologies that are being really hyped up. All right, so Web3, this one is honestly a giant joke in my opinion. So a lot of people have been hyping up a Web3 and kind of talking about this buzzword. And what does Web3 actually mean? So I don't know if there's like a really solid understanding of what Web3 is. I personally think it's just a buzzword that has been attached to cryptocurrency and blockchains to get people to buy into crypto. Honestly, that's what I think Web3 currently is right now in terms of how it's being marketed. But in a general sense, what I think Web3 should be is just the fact that you have these decentralized services or tools or applications where people aren't so dependent on one service. So for an example, people always use Facebook. Right now, if you upload your images to Facebook, Facebook kind of owns those images and they have the ability to basically delete your account at any time. Same thing with YouTube. We upload our videos to YouTube to a centralized service, and Google as an entity has the ability to delete your account, and basically your channel is just going to be wiped out. So there's a lot of power in the hands of these corporations that can kind of shut you down whenever they want. And I think there is a big benefit of having decentralized applications. So with that being said, I'm not against decentralized applications, but if you go and look at like what decentralized applications are being built with like YouTube tutorials and stuff, most of the things I see aren't decentralized applications, right? There's usually a UI, which is going to be owned and maintained by a single corporation or entity or person. And that UI typically has some type of backend because in all honesty, it's impossible to write a real functional application on the Ethereum network or many of these other blockchains because the cost of just doing a simple transaction or deploying a contract, we're talking like $1,000 to deploy a simple contract, which is obviously very counterintuitive. If you want people to use this type of technology, it needs to be roughly equivalent to if I wanted to spin up my own EC2 server on Amazon or DigitalOcean, I shouldn't have to pay 1,000 times more to run a single function or deploy a single function on these blockchains. So that off the bat, I mean, like if Web3 is strongly coupled to the whole idea of cryptocurrency and blockchain, I think we're doing Web3 completely wrong. There are some tools out there that I think are really great and kind of exemplify what the essence of Web3 is. So for an example, IPFS is a service you can basically host on your computer and you can upload files to it. And what happens is basically a hash sum is calculated over the file contents and you're given a unique identifier so that if you ever were to take that file and change it in any way, you're going to get a different hash. Now, the beauty of that is if you want to download that file again in the future, you just need to provide that hash to one of these IPFS gateways and you'll get back the exact same file, assuming that the file is still hosted on a node somewhere, right? That's the kind of the downfall of IPFS is that your files still have to be hosted somewhere, which means you still have to pay a monthly fee to either Amazon or S3 or DigitalOcean so that when people try to access your content, the network knows where to find it. But I think that is a great example of like the essence of Web3. But if you look at a lot of tutorials, again, like people are just building normal applications. Like I just watched a tutorial like this morning where a person is trying to build like an Amazon shopping clone, which looks like the Amazon UI. It has a buy button, but the only difference between that and a real Amazon application is now you can buy with cryptocurrency, right? Just because you can buy a product with crypto doesn't really make it a decentralized application, in my opinion, right? To be decentralized, you need basically the community of developers or people to be able to maintain and modify and use the application, right? And honestly, I don't know how a majority of these applications can even become decentralized because someone still has to own the code. Someone has to maintain the code and update the code. So I think someone needs to come through and kind of define like, what is this Web3 buzzword everyone's talking about? Because honestly, what I'm seeing is like it's not really being implemented, right? The whole decentralization part of these Web3 applications are just like hooking into a cryptocurrency payment button, which I don't think that's what we're trying to get at. I think the solution we should be trying to solve is I should be able to create a YouTube channel kind of, upload all my videos and have a guarantee that all my stuff won't be deleted with a click of a button from a YouTube algorithm bot or something like that. I think that is like one of the biggest problems that I think Web3 should be trying to solve, not necessarily being able to buy stuff with cryptocurrency. I think it's also unfortunate that this NFT hype is also kind of hooked into Web3 as well, because NFTs, again, are just a giant joke. So if you actually look at NFTs and how they work, it's really just an entry in a database that you're changing. But the issue I have is with these Ethereum contracts, right? These Ethereum contracts can be changed and modified dynamically, which kind of goes against what I first learned about Ethereum. I thought these contracts were like immutable. So once you deploy it, you know with 100% certainty it will not change or it cannot change. But if you look at the Squid Game coin, remember that guy basically added code to be able to change his contract, and he kind of just took all the coins and sold them or whatever. I don't know the full details, but basically the Squid Game contract was a mutable contract. So in the future, he can come by and upgrade that contract to run some different type of functionality, which is just funny because that's like the biggest selling point of having Ethereum smart contracts is that they're immutable, right? Once you've kind of inspected the code, you know what's going to happen. So like the more I dive into this space of like cryptocurrency and Web3 and Ethereum contracts, like the more I realize that the average user has to put a ton of trust in these contracts. They need to actually read through the code and understand what's going on, because it's very easy for someone to just add a simple line of code that makes 10% of every transaction put money in their own MetaMask wallet or something, which is kind of scary because majority of people who are buying NFTs and using these Ethereum contracts do not know how to read Solidity code. And honestly, even me, I've been programming for a very long time now. It takes me almost a couple of days to read through some of these long contracts, because a contract typically imports a bunch of other abstract contracts and the code is really large. So to dive through these code bases and understand what the contract is actually doing and verify that there's no security flaws is a huge task. So if you've been following along with my NFT magic project, honestly, I'm just going to let this project die because I just don't believe in NFTs. I don't believe in this hype. I don't believe in Web3 just of yet. I hope I'm proven wrong soon or in the future. And I hope that this whole idea of decentralized applications is actually solving problems that we have in the world right now. But for the most part, I'm not seeing a big issue with using centralized applications. I don't see an issue with using YouTube. I mean, unless you're someone out there who's posting really controversial topics, and probably you shouldn't even be like posting these things on YouTube, then I don't see any reason for why you can't just use these centralized services. And then people always argue that like, oh, your data is not safe with Facebook because they're going to take it and they're going to sell it. Isn't like everything that you do on the blockchain public, so people can just look at your wallet and see what you bought? And on top of that, like your wallet is always going to be able to be tied back to you somehow, right? If you do enough investigation, you can kind of do a decent job of figuring out who that wallet belongs to, because at some point you either need to cash money in or cash money out. And at that point, whoever is looking at that wallet address can see that, okay, this person withdrew 10 Ethereum and changed it into actual US currency or something. So I'm not really sure if that's a good selling point of like the whole blockchain is secure, because honestly, all your data is public and there's not too much privacy if someone is able to figure out who that wallet belongs to. Honestly, I could probably just keep on ranting on this topic. Like right now, if I want to send money to a friend, I could literally load up Cash App, send some money over, and be done within like half a minute, right? So I don't really understand, like, what is this whole point of paying with cryptocurrency solving? Because we've solved problems with trading actual currency, right? I can use Cash App, I can use like Facebook money, I can actually use PayPal, I can send money to friends very easily. I guess I really don't see like what is the issue with banks like being in control of those transactions, right? They're still going to charge you money just like Bitcoin. If you imagine trying to send a transaction on Ethereum right now, like you're going to be charged a much larger fee just to send some money to a friend, compared to being charged like the fees for PayPal or Cash App, right? Every service that you use, whether it's a decentralized cryptocurrency blockchain-based solution, or if it's an actual like bank or something, everyone is going to try to take some of your money when you make a transaction, okay? So I don't really get it. And also, like, if you look at the actual transferring money in Ethereum, there's no like hard stop to like how much do I need to pay? Like, what are my fees at this point in time? Like, I know they just recently like changed like ERC 1559 to make it a little bit more consistent when you're doing transactions, but still it's like you can make a transaction and then 10 minutes later that transaction's gas prices could have skyrocketed. There's no control over that. And also, like, what I've seen with these networks is like I've been using Polygon, which has gotten like a ton of money in funding. But every time there's an issue with the Polygon network, I've joined their Discord and I kind of watched the news on Discord. Every time that there's an issue, for example, like 2 weeks ago, I was trying to do a request to the testnet and their RPC endpoint was just failing. The developers don't post anything. There's like absolutely no information about what's going on. And it kind of is concerning that this technology that's been giving millions of dollars in funding has no ability or no initiative to actually inform developers of like what's going on with their networks. And then even like a month ago when I first started looking into Polygon, they implemented the ERC 1559 change into their network, and we saw gas prices basically spike through the roof. And there was still no updates from any of the Polygon developers in the Discord to even inform people what's going on. If you go and look at their Twitter, they're still just marketing their products, saying everything's great, they're growing, blah, blah, blah. But behind the scenes, they're not actually showing you like stuff's crashing. Stuff is not working properly. And obviously that's for good reasons. They probably want to keep it hush hush so they can keep their coin prices going up. But I'm just not impressed with any of these things. Like, I'm not impressed with Ethereum. The cost of doing anything in Ethereum is like tons of money. Like, the cost to mint an NFT is a ton of money. The cost to transfer your Ethereum to the Polygon network using the bridge is like a ton of money. None of these solutions actually make sense to me. And I don't understand why, as a community, all these people are hyping it up. It's just kind of disgusting. I've been going on for like 13 minutes now. I just want to wrap up this talk. But if you have any comments about like decentralization or Dapps or Web3 or Ethereum or crypto, blockchain, whatever, leave a comment below. Give me your opinions on like, do you think this is actually a useful piece of technology? Are we just kind of in the infancy stages of this technology, or is this just a giant hype that really, I can't see any practical uses to this technology just yet? Anyway, have a good day. Happy coding.